Hey everyone, welcome. This is Jason Clemens, Doctor of Chiropractic at the Rock Health and Wellness Center, and this is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. Hope you guys are having a great day. We're live right here in the Rock Health and Wellness Center studios on this beautiful July 29th on a Tuesday. We're live on 98.7 Walk by Faith Radio, 1420 AM, 987radio.com, all around the world, all around the entire globe that has, if they still have any internet. I heard Neuralink went down for a little bit, something. They provide a lot of internet to people all over the world. But yeah, we're out there, man. We're all around. We're teaching. Welcome all those people listening to us on social media all around the world on the Rock Health and Wellness Center's Facebook page, at Health from the Rock on YouTube, and Jason Clemens DC on X. Yeah, I had a conversation with one of my ladies in Littlefield. She said, "Hey, I listened to you on the show, and you were talking about breathing last night. Talking about breathing, and you're talking about the addiction, um, and that what we talked about with the integrator based on addiction and all that sort of thing." And I was like, "Good for her, man. She's in Littlefield, Texas." Uh, Waylon Jennings has a great song. A start of song, "Me and Them Brothers of Mine." If you've ever heard that Waylon Jennings song called "Me and Them Brothers of Mine," he starts off that song. Um, you can't say you've had a head start if you start off from Austin Avenue. Just a dirt road leading nowhere. Ain't a whole lot to be looking forward to. You could say that it affected, in some ways, perfected our minds, but we're all doing pretty good. Me and them brothers of mine. That that's the opening line right there. I think about that because our office in Littlefield is on Waylon Jennings Boulevard, and I grew up listening to Waylon and Willie. My dad always loved that, and Merle Haggard and George Jones and all those guys. So that was kind of my life as a young child, and I can't believe it still blows my mind to think that. Um, I grew up. I mean, when we were running around East Texas and Oklahoma in the '70s and early '80s, and listening to all those outlaw, albums and all that stuff with Waylon Jennings, and then I grew up and acquired an office on Waylon Jennings Boulevard in Littlefield, Texas. I think it's cool as heck, man. It's like, yeah, it's part of the reason people say, "Well, you still go to Littlefield?" I was like, "Yes, I still go to Littlefield. We're going to stay at it." And it's pretty cool. It's like, man, and when he's just saying Austin Avenue, I went and looked it up one day. I found it. It's just a little old dirt road, and I guess that's where Waylon was born. But he's like, you can't say you had a head start if you started off from there. That's a pretty good line. And if you think about it, and now and he's right. I mean, you can wash and you can polish, Hoss, but there ain't no way to make West Texas shine. That's what he said. Yeah, it's, I don't know. It's like you gotta appreciate a little bit of different kind of shine. I mean, I'm all about West Texas and Eastern New Mexico. So, but I'm just saying that Mary's listening to us over there in Littlefield, and she's talking about addiction studies that are happening in New York City that people are getting adjusted in New York City because of their addictions are getting better. And like she's getting all that information right there. And I told her, I said, "You're gonna have to watch out, Mary. You're gonna be in the top 1% of the healthiest people around if you keep up this stuff, right?" I mean, how cool is that? That's what I was trying to say last night. It doesn't make any difference where you're from. It doesn't make any difference how much money you make or what your mom and daddy did when you were growing up. None of that stuff matters. You can be as healthy as anybody else on the planet if you want to be healthy. If you don't want to be healthy, fine, don't be healthy. Just let's see how that works out for you. But if you really want to be healthy, you can be, even if you live in a place where you can't say you've had a head start if you're from, right? If in just out there in Littlefield, little old nothing town, but it's got people in it. I was thinking today when I was adjusting out there, I was like, you know what? It's like, this is my people. This is my kind of people. This is my kind of people that I mean, I was born in Winsboro, Texas. I don't even know the population of Winsboro. Let me see if I can find that out. Population of Winsboro, Texas. Um, it's estimated to be 3,714, reflecting a growth rate of 1.36% annually since 2020. Yeah, we're talking about 3,700 people in Winsboro, Texas. That's where I'm from. Like, uh, I'm not sophisticated, right? I mean, I might be sophisticated now, but my roots, man, my roots come from right there, from Winsboro. We lived in Palestine and Wolf City and Leonard, and we didn't live in Leonard. Dad coached in Leonard with all those little towns, and then we moved to the metropolis of Jones, Oklahoma. I spent 2 years in Jones, Oklahoma, and then we moved into the big city of Del City, and then we moved to Roswell, New Mexico. So my whole point is, like, it doesn't matter where you're from. It just like, look, and my dad used to say it all the time. It's kind of funny. He would say, as far as like recruiting football players and stuff, he would say, players are where you find them. It's like I read a book one time that said there's no bad color of a good horse. It's it's like, yeah, that's the truth right there. So all I'm trying to say is welcome to the people out there all over the world that are listening to us. You may be in a big fancy city like Chicago or New York. You might be listening to us. You might be in India listening to us. Might be in Japan listening to us. Welcome. We're just talking about health tonight. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all those people. We're going to talk about NeuroCon, but before we talk about NeuroCon, that was pretty cool in the show last night. If you missed it, you can go back and watch it. And if you want to send me a text or anything, 806-794-0400 is our text line. 806-794-0400. It's also our phone number for our chiropractic office right here in Lubbock. The Rock Health and Wellness Center is a chiropractic wellness facility. And so we're based in functional neurology. We do fitness, we do nutrition. We really work on the adjustment. Everybody gets adjusted. They don't have to, but most everybody that comes here does. And we do neurofeedback. We've got all kinds of stuff in the office. So um, last night's show was about NeuroCon. It's a neurology conference I went to at Parker University in Dallas this weekend. And tonight we're going to just keep going, and we're going to talk about Matthew Walker, why we sleep. Last night we talked about breathing. Tonight we're going to talk about sleeping. And we've done this before. We've broken down this book. You can go back. You have to go to YouTube and catch it. But it's like way back. And we started this. We're just about up to 2 years doing this show. So 2023, September of 2023, you can just look on the Wednesdays and you'll see the book reviews. I think the first one was The End of Alzheimer's, and then we did several book reviews, and then we did Matthew Walker's book review back then. So I've been really studying him now for several years. Good stuff. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Heidi Haavik, who is from New Zealand, and some of the research that she's presented that really talks about how your spine and your brain work together. So that's what we're going to do. I want to get to a couple conversations first, though, that I had today, and they were with older people. We take patients that are, all my oldest few right now are in their like 86. I think the two of them that I actually were talking about today that I adjusted today, both of them are 86, and one of them lost her husband and her daughter during COVID, and this is kind of a tough time because there's a lot of memories that are coming back with birthdays and anniversaries of all that stuff. And then the other one is husband has been dealing with some issues, and one of the things that it's kind of interesting because I had a conversation this morning, and the first one was about it's just kind of like things happen to us, right? And things are going to happen to us. Like it's just part of the process. Like nobody gets out of this thing alive. We're all going to die eventually, and something is going to take us out. And it's like, how do we try to live every day to the fullest? That's what we're really trying to do, right? We're trying to live to the fullest every day. But we know that someday, somewhere, something's going to take us out, right? So you just have to, there just has to be a knowing. And it's a tough position to be in because it's kind of like, well, do I give up? Is there anything I can do? Is there nothing I can do? Does God plan it all out and cause things to happen to us, or does God let things happen to us? Or well, that was the conversation we had, and I was like, I just don't think so. I mean, obviously, God can do whatever He wants to, and but to me, it's kind of like there's just some laws that govern matter. And then we talked about that with the whole, like gravity and everything. But I just, I, i- if things break down over time, and eventually something's going to break down, and it's going to be the end of us, right? So we just have to know that. We have to know that that's the case, and it's not anybody's fault. It just, I mean, sometimes you make choices that lead to demise and all that sort of thing. But I had that conversation, and I just said, "Hey, what we're going to try to do is live the best we can while we're here, right?" God didn't disappear. Um, the conversation started with, "How's your day?" And I said, "My day is awesome, and everything else is an illusion." And she just thought about that for a second. She's 86. She's got a lot of wisdom compared to me. So she just thought about it for a second. She was like, everything's awesome and everything else is an illusion. And I said, and she said, did you come up with that by yourself? And I said, no, I didn't come up by myself. I said, Dr. DeMartini presented that to me, but I've been thinking about it a lot over the last 20 years, 25 years. And yeah, it's like, look, God didn't disappear. God is omnipresent. God is omnipowerful. So God was right there in the middle of all this frustrating stuff that we're dealing with. So it's like, look, it's just there's balance in it. There's balance. Okay. So then it was so cool because on my way to Littlefield, I had a little time, and I saw this. I saw this little clip that was the scripture of Jesus talking, and he was talking in John 12, and he started with 23. So it's John 12:23, and I saw this. It was from The Chosen, and he's having this moment, and he's telling the people. Um, he said this. He said, Jesus replied, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." And that was kind of interesting that scripture actually showed up in my life today, because those are the two conversations. And then when I got to Littlefield, I had the next conversation with my other 86-year-old lady who's sad today, and in the process of that, I could bring the scripture up, and I could say, "Look, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Very truly, I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed." And it's maybe the first time ever I've thought of that. Like, you know what? Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it's the seed that is planted for the next thing. That's where it bears the fruit. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. That's what Jesus was saying. He is going to die, and then he's going to produce many seeds after death, right? Maybe there's something there for us. I'll just present it. I'm not going to get into it any further than that. I'll just present it because I spend all my days working on wellness. It's like every day I'm trying to work on wellness and doing things with wellness and keeping people well and sharing information about wellness. And I know that at the end of this whole thing, none of us are going to be physically well. Eventually, we're all at some point or another going to be physically dead. Now, not spiritually dead, but physically dead. This flesh is going to die someday. And so, what is the fruit that is manifested from that? Maybe there's some peace in that, and I don't really know, but I presented it anyway, and maybe they have found a little peace in that. And maybe you have too. If you dealt with death and you've dealt with someone that passed on, maybe you can find a little peace in that. Maybe there's some fruit that's happened because of it, right? So anyway, let's get on with it. All right, let's talk about Matthew Walker and why we sleep first. And let me just read off of his page. This is his page. Um, it's kind of funny. He came over to the United States and he was all short haircut and cleaned up looking, and now he's been hanging out in Stanford, out there at Stanford for a while. Now he's got long hair and a ponytail and all that stuff. But um, he's a genuinely, you could tell by his speech and the way that he handled himself on stage, he's a genuinely sincere human being, and really working on his craft and trying to share that with us. And it says here, Dr. Walker earned his degree in neuroscience from Nottingham University, UK, and his PhD in neurophysiology from the Medical Research Council, London, UK. He subsequently became a professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School in the United States. Currently, he is a professor of neuroscience and psychology at the University of California, Berkeley. Yeah, I thought he was at Stanford. Yeah, California, Berkeley. He is also the founder and director of the Center for Human Sleep Sciences. Dr. Walker's research examines the impact of sleep on human health and disease. He has received numerous funding awards from the National Science Foundation and the National Institutes of Health and the Cavelli Fellowship of National Academy of Sciences. His research examines the impact of sleep on human brain function in healthy and diseased populations. To date, he has published over 100 scientific research studies. So when you publish a scientific research study, you've got to prepare. There's some work that gets into that. So anybody that's published 100 scientific research studies, and he's been a professor at Harvard, and he's been at Cal Berkeley. And I'm not getting into the politics of any of that. I don't care nothing about that. I'm just simply saying that the guy has done his homework, and he's trying to teach. And so what does he try to teach us? What are some of the notes? I'm just going to go through my notes tonight and just say, hey, look, what did I learn? What did I learn this time? What are some of the things that that he pointed out that I thought were legit. There we go. Sorry, I couldn't get to my notes there. But he's like, sleep is essentialism. Sleep essentialism is what he said was one of the things. It's non-negotiable necessity. It's a non-negotiable substance. We have a culture. I know the culture that I grew up in. The work ethic drive that we have, that hey, stay late, get up early, be the first one there, be the last one to leave, do all that sort of thing, right? Like that drive that is taught into us, especially out here in this part of the country. And it's like never do I remember having conversations growing up, not saying anything bad about my parents, but from my coaches or from my teachers or anybody. Never did I have conversations growing up talking to me about how important sleep was. It's like, come on, that's like, hey, we got to work, man. You got to work till in the middle of the night, and then you got to get up early the next morning. You got to go to work. And we take it for granted because it's such a culture. It's such a part of our culture that we're going to stay up till 10 o'clock, and then we're going to 10:30 maybe get to sleep, and then we're going to get up at 4:30. It's like I heard a guy one time talk about he like all successful men get up when the first number on the clock says 4. That's what someone told me early in my career. I remember listening to one of those gurus say that. And it's like, you know what? You know how to do that? Like, if you're going to get, Dr. Walker says 7 to 9 hours of sleep is essential for us. We really need 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So if you're going to get 7, let's just say it's minimum right there. You're going to get 7 hours of sleep, and you're going to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. You've got to go to bed at no later than 9 o'clock, right? So you got 9 to 12 is 3 hours, and then you got 4 hours on the other side. 9 to 4 a.m. Like, that's a bare minimum. Well, I have not found that to be reasonable in raising kids, being married, raising kids. I mean, there's been times where we've been at a baseball game when Jacob was, 8 or 9 years old, and we're starting the game at like 8 o'clock. Like, those little kids are supposed to be in bed when he was young, like he was 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Like, they're supposed to be in bed, and we're starting the game that late. Like, so we didn't even leave the baseball park or the theater. He had theater practice until 9 or 10 o'clock at night, working on shows all during junior high and high school. Like, there, it's just not reasonable. It's not reasonable to think that me, I'm going to be able to get to bed, because I'm going to get to bed at 10 o'clock or after. And if I get to bed at 10 o'clock and I get up at 4, I'm on 6 hours of sleep. And he says it right here. He's like, he rounds it off. Um, he says it, and he said it before. Um, he's like, if you took every person that could get by on 6 hours of sleep without some sort of cognitive deficit, like their brains didn't lose something, you could take all those people and you could round them off to the nearest whole number, and the number of people that can get by on 6 hours of sleep without cognitive deficit is 0%. He's like, you can't do it. A guy who's published 100 papers that studied the living dog out of sleeping. Like, no, I never heard anybody talk as much about sleep as this guy. Like, he's got a sleep lab. He's been doing all kinds of stuff with sleep. He's been working on it forever. He says all the research that he's done says you can't get by with 6 hours of sleep without changing the way that your brain works. And that's not something that we've heard before. That's like, if you're really tough and you're really mentally tough, then you can do that. So I'm just going to present for everybody out there that, man, we need to get some sleep. It's really important to get some sleep, like in 7 to 9 hours. And so he spends this book is great. Why We Sleep. If you don't have it, then I highly suggest you get it. You can listen to it online, or you can get it. Go to YouTube and listen to Matthew Walker talk. He's got all kinds of lectures and stuff online about it. But he said in one of the quotes I wrote down, he said, in the past 20 years, they can't find a single psychiatric condition that didn't involve sleep disruption. Every brain problem that we have in some form or fashion has a sleep disruption component to it. All those psychiatric disruptions. We had the guy walk in. I was reading that before I started the show today. We had the white guy from New York City that walked into the building. Apparently, he was a football player, and he walked into the building and was trying to go shoot, the NFL, but he ended up shooting the other people instead. And it's like, yeah, I guarantee you he had sleep disorder. Like, his brain was not working properly, right? There's no question that was the case. Our lymphatic only comes on in deep sleep. One night of no deep sleep increases Alzheimer's proteins in the blood. One night of not having deep sleep increases your Alzheimer's proteins in the blood. What is good sleep? Quantity, 7 to 9 hours. Below that changes physiology. Quality, as important. Sleep efficiency, 85% or above. And he's like, what his sleep efficiency is that he wants you to be asleep 85% of the time that you're in your bed. So if getting into your bed and looking at your phone and all the other things that goes on in your bed, whatever, I'm not getting into that, but all those other things is like he wants you to have 85% of that time in bed asleep. That's the quality. Regularity, go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. He was really big about that. He's like, look, try to set that routine so you go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time. And I fail at that because of my schedule. The way that I've set my schedule up, I wake up at 5:13 on Mondays and Thursday mornings because I've got to teach a fitness class at 6. So I get up at 5:13. But on Tuesdays and Friday mornings, Leslie and I go work out in the morning, and so I don't get up till like after 6:30 on Tuesdays and Fridays. But then on Wednesdays, we start seeing patients at 7:30 in the morning. So my alarm clock is set for 6:10. So it's like already I'm shifting that thing around. Then what happens on Friday night is, especially lately, I'll be sitting there looking at my phone. It'll be 11 o'clock. I did that the other day. Just like I was like, it's 11 o'clock, and we'd been out doing something, running around, came back, and then it was like you just get lost in your phone, and then your eyes are down and going crossed and all that stuff that we do, and and then it's like, well, do I get up early? Because my body clock wakes me up. It's like I'm going to wake up early now, and so I need to work on that personally. It's like that regularity. And then the last thing was timing. And he was really cool. He was really cool about this. He was like a morning type, an evening type, or somewhere in between. What is your personality? Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Are you a night owl? Whatever the thing is, right? And there's a place you can go, and I did it. It's called meqtest.com. Pretty sure that's the meqtest.com. I don't know why that gets off there. Let's look it up right quick. MEQT. I'll look it up. We got to take a break. We're on the radio, but I'll look it up during the break, um, and then we'll be back in just a second. You guys stick around with us. This is Life with Jason Clemens, DC, and we'll be right back. I'm trying to look that up. MEQ test. Dot. It's not saying that. Let me Google it and just see what happens. Yeah, it says this deployment is temporarily paused. I don't really know why that's saying that on my end, but that is the right place. https://www.meqtest.com. So I went and took that test, and it actually told me I was a mid-morning personality. And so if you want to find out kind of what you are, you can go and you can take that test, and then it'll give you some information. Maybe it give you a little bit of insight of how you could set up your sleep schedule. Because one of the things that he said about if you're a late night person, he's like, don't try to make yourself go to bed at 9 o'clock. You'll just sit there in bed and you won't go to sleep. And so push it. He actually tried to get people to like push that a little bit. And if and let me wait till we get back, because I think this is good information for the people on the other side of the break, that we can talk about. So if you have any comments or questions, you can send them to us. And hey, Lewis, hope everything's going good with you. And if you got me questions, 806-794-0400, you can text me or you can send me a message on social media. But we're just about done with this commercial. And then let me share that, because it's good stuff that he was talking about. I wish I knew how to get you guys on the social media to hear what I hear in my head, because I'm listening to the radio. I got a radio station going on in my head right now. Hang on. Okay, everybody, we're back. This is Life with Jason Clemens, DC. We're talking about some NeuroCon stuff that we talked about this weekend, and we're talking about the book Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker and some of the notes that I took during NeuroCon. And we were talking about what is good sleep. He saw quantity, 7 to 9 hours. Quality, you want 85% efficiency or above. I mean, you want to be asleep while you're in bed. Regularity, you want to go to bed at the same time and wake up. And then timing is the morning type, the evening type, and somewhere in between. What are you? And you can go to meqtest.com, meqtest.com. You guys may be able to load it. I can't load it for some reason on mine, but I took that, and one of the things he was saying is if you're an evening type, you, he said the type, according to Dr. Walker, the type of sleeper you are is mostly genetic. It's like in your genetics about if you consider yourself a morning person or you consider yourself an evening person. So there's really not much you could do about that with habit. So it's like you should kind of work with it a little bit. But he also said that, look, we are not designed to be nocturnal. And he talked about um, some of the things that happens with like shift work people. Shift work people, 43% increase in Alzheimer's disease. The greater number of years doing shift work, the greater the Alzheimer's. Shift worker, take a 20-minute nap before the shift starts. And then when you get home, make your bedroom like a cave, make it dark and cold, and 3 milligrams of melatonin at the most. He's not a big uh, believer in that. He's like, cancer rates are higher with this group. And he's also talked about there's an app. There's an app called Time Shifter. You can get it at timeshifter.com, and to try to get you to move your time a little bit. But one of the things that I thought was pretty cool that he talked about was, okay, let's say you just say to me, Doc, I just can't get to sleep until 1 o'clock. I just can't get to sleep. I'll just get in bed, and if I just get in bed, I'll just lay there until 1 o'clock. And he said, okay, here, do this. Start backing it down at 30-minute increments. So say you're going to you want to get to sleep by 12:30. But you're going to set your alarm. You're going to put an alarm on your phone or whatever, and you're going to set an alarm at 11:30. That tells you it's your 1 hour to get things done alarm. That's it. And he said, I want you to stay up. I want you to don't go to sleep. Don't get in bed at 9 o'clock and try to go to sleep if you're not going to sleep till 1 o'clock. He said, I want you to stay up. I want you to do things, and I want you to be active and all that sort of thing. And then set your alarm. In this particular case, it would be for 11:30, and then that it's a 1 hour. You got 1 hour, and then you need to be in bed asleep. So you got to get all your stuff done. You got to get your day wrapped up. And then he said, do that for a little bit of time, but a few days, a week or something, and then try to move that back down again. See if you can move it from 12:30 to 12, and then now you got to set your alarm back to 11. And then see if you can move it from 12 to 11:30 and go in increments of 30 minutes. So slowly shift your body clock back around so that you can move yourself down. And I'm sure it's in the book. I just don't remember him talking about that. So um, that was some pretty good stuff that he's talking about right there. Because I hear people say it, but he's like, don't get in bed and lay there till 1 o'clock. That's it, because it if you think about it, it decreases your sleep efficiency. The amount of time that you're in bed asleep, it decreases. So that's not good. So that's you may be dealing with that. If you can't sleep, that might be one thing that you might be able to do. Just kind of move it down. Another thing he said was take a hot bath or a hot shower right before you go to bed. So a hot bath, and you think, well, wait a minute, I've got to cool myself down. He said a human being cannot go to sleep if they do not cool their core temperature down. You've got to get your core temperature to um, cool down in order to go to sleep. And he said one of the things that you will do if you take a hot shower or a hot bath is you'll bring the blood up to the skin, and then you'll sweat, you'll get rid of it, but inside your core, you'll actually cool your core temperature down. So I'm just going by what Dr. Walker said. That was one of the things. The other thing is, remember that Every cell in the body has its own. I think I put this in here somewhere. Um, each cell has a clock. We are not designed to be nocturnal. Um, and so I wrote that in my notes. And what he's one of the things he was saying was, remember that light starts the process. So Huberman does a good job explaining this. Walker does. They do a podcast together too. They do a good job explaining this. But the light that hits your eyeballs is going to determine your sleep cycle. It's going to start it. So, and it's going to move it along the pathway as we start to go to sleep. So in the evening time, one of the things he suggested, if you're having a hard time sleeping, is to wear some shades. Put some shades on before the sun goes down and try to start getting the light off of your eyeballs at an earlier time. Like right now, I mean, it's whatever it is, it's 6:39 in Lubbock, and it's bright outside, and the sun's still out. So what you might do from 6:39 until 9 o'clock when the sun goes down or whatever is put your shades on, wear sunglasses, decrease it. It's kind of cool. I mean, I got it because we used to do that on the ranch when I was growing up. We would the opposite, right? We put mares under lights to make them go in heat or whatever to ovulate better. Because of the summertime, we'd kind of trick them and say, hey, there's light all the time. We'd put them under lights. Well, this is just the opposite of that. We want to get dark. And then he mentioned this. I thought was pretty cool. He mentioned this and he said a light, a bright light box. It was the name. And I actually went to Amazon and looked it up. A bright light box, several thousand lumens, artificially trick the body with sunglasses and get darker faster, but in the morning time. So as soon as you wake up in the morning time, you want to get as much light on your eyeballs as you can. Open the windows, go outside, get the light on the eyeballs, because believe it or not, that's what starts the clock of you going to sleep later in the day. When you wake up in the morning and you get the light on your eyeballs, you will start your circadian rhythm that puts you to sleep at night. So if you stay in your house darker longer and you don't get the light on your eyes, you kind of push yourself further down the road to going to sleep on the other end. So he made the bright light box. You can look it up on Amazon. It wasn't very expensive, but just something that's really bright, and then try to get your eyes on some light. It's better, obviously, if you get in the sunshine, but that's one thing right there, and it'll start to put you to sleep a little bit faster. So, what else we got in here? Set the 1 hour to bed alarm, and we talked about that, moving it back. He said Emily Jacobs has done a good work on women's sleep studies. So he said, it's really tragic, and it's like this in a lot of studies. It's done mostly on men a lot of times. And so he said he did not have the studies to that this Emily Jacobs. So if you're a woman and you're wanting to know about sleep, that might be somebody that you could search. Emily Jacobs, and just sleep disorders or sleep studies is someone that you might get something from. He said in New Moms, I thought this was pretty cool. In New Moms, he's like, there's 4 aspects of sleep and good sleep, right? Quantity, quality, regularity, and timing. And he said one of the things with new moms is you really might have a hard time controlling the regularity and the timing. Meaning the regularity is you going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, and then the timing is when you'd actually do that, like whether you start it later and wake up later, or you start earlier and wake up earlier. And he said with being a new mom, having a newborn, as we all know, that regularity and timing is sometimes not under our control. So He was like quantity and quality. He's like, you know what? Maybe if you can get 30-minute nap. He said, like a lot of times people will ask a new mom, is there anything we can do for you? Or, do you need anything? And he said, maybe just have them come over and just watch the baby for 30 minutes while you can just try to get a quick nap for 30 minutes. Just see if you can get some quantity instead of, in little pieces, and then try to work on that as you can. So that's part of the study. Again, the shift work with the increase, and he's like, look, appreciate all you guys that are doing shift work. I got nurses. I've been saying this for 21 years. All my people that work nights, it's messed up. Like their whole body systems are messed up. And, but he said there's a 43% increase in Alzheimer's disease for people that work shift work. So, and the more years you do it, the higher your Alzheimer's goes up, which it fits into what we talk about all the time: physical, chemical, mental, emotional stress. The environment of the cell, the what is the environment of the cell? What is the environment of the body that is being put in? And how does that environment affect the outcome of the body? That's what we work on, right? So I was having this conversation with the two guys that are working with me. I was asking them what a subluxation was yesterday. And I was trying to explain what a subluxation was. I was trying to explain the interference in the nervous system. And it's like, at first you don't understand what that means. I get it. It's like interference in the nervous system. What is he talking about? What does that even mean? I don't even get it, right? Okay, let me just ask you, how could there be 43% increase in Alzheimer's disease if you worked nights, right? If you work all night long, and then if you're a nurse or you're a shift worker of some kind and you work nights, you're in a category that there's 43% increase in Alzheimer's disease. Why? What is happening to the brain that's causing that? Well, obviously, there's a disruption in the normal function of the cell. It's like that's what he was talking about up here at the top. He's like this, the lymphatic, which is basically the cleaning up of the cell. It's the time that we get into that deep sleep and we get into those last couple of hours of our sleep that our brain actually starts cleaning itself up. It's autophagy to a certain extent, right? So it's like the autophagy that we learned when we were talking about fasting, and we were talking about, like the end of Alzheimer's. Think about that. Dale Bredesen in the end of Alzheimer's is talking about controlling your blood sugar for at least, don't eat anything 3 hours before you go to bed, and then try to make it 12 hours from the time you eat to the next time you eat. And if you're dealing with any health problems, add 4 more hours on the end. So that's a 16-hour window that you didn't eat, so that you can reverse Alzheimer's. You can reverse your dementia. The end of Alzheimer's. That's Dale Bredesen's book, right? Well, he's saying the same thing that Matthew Walker's saying. Matthew Walker's saying, look, there's a physiology that goes along with sleeping, and when you break the physiology, you break the cleaning up of the brain, and you create interference in the nervous system. I promise you, almost all of our problems will lead themselves back to interference in the nervous system. I don't know if I haven't really, I thought about it a little bit, and maybe if I got together with some people and brainstormed and they wanted to ask me some questions, yeah, maybe there's a couple of little genetic things that might be a problem, but really deep down what we're doing is we're interfering with our brain and our body's communication systems and the natural rhythms of things. That's kind of what I was talking about when I was talking about with my older patient about the laws that govern the body. It's just like it's God's design, and you just can't do it that way. It's now, will somebody say, yeah, I worked shift work for 50 years and I don't have Alzheimer's? Okay, great. You're in the 57% of people that didn't. But I'm saying 43% of people do have an increase in Alzheimer's. There's a certain environment that the cell thrives in. There's a certain environment that the cell tries to adapt to, and the inability to adapt, unadapted physiology is pathology. Remember that. Unadapted physiology is pathology, and pathology is disease. It's so why didn't you adapt? Well, because you had your body in an environment that was incongruent with health. And what could one of those things have been? What is the environment that your body might have been in that was incongruent with health? You didn't get any sleep. That could be one of the things right there, right? Um, Cancer rates are higher within those groups. We said that. Bright light box, artificial. He's like, artificially trick the body with the sunglasses, take a hot bath or a hot shower. Yoga, Tai Chi, and temperature controlled mattresses. Those are things that are really good for sleep. Light is the most powerful on the circadian rhythm. Timing of food can set the circadian food. And he was like, it was really interesting. His take on food wasn't so much of the timing of the food, it was what food you ate before you went to bed. Now, Dr. Bredesen's going to say, don't eat anything 3 hours before you go to bed, right? I've been blowing that deal out for 2 years now because we'll finish this show at 7 o'clock and then I'll go home. It'll be 7:15 and Leslie's going to have something to eat when we get home. So, and then I'm like, there's no way. Like, I'm not, if I eat at, let's say 7:30, I mean, I have to get finished maybe by 7:45. Then I'm pushing my bedtime to 10:45. So I'm failing at that right there. I could tell you right now. But it's really interesting. Dr. Bredesen's talking about it in one way. Dr. Walker talked about it in a different way. He said this. He said, I don't really care so much about when you eat, it's what you eat and the reasons for what you eat. His reasoning for what you eat is, he said, simple sugars warm you up. They're thermogenic. So use fiber or complex carbs. He wasn't so disruptive about eating complex carbs. Now, I've heard lots of people talk about this. I've heard lots of people talk about insulin in the nighttime and you know your body's spending all its time to break down the food and all that sort of thing. I'm not making an argument one way or the other about this. I'm simply sharing a thought that I hadn't heard before. And what his deal is you got to get your temperature, your core internal temperature down. So that's the hot bath and that type of thing before bed. Getting your room dark and very cold. You got to get your room cold. Those things. And it was cool because we were driving back from Dallas and this weekend, and we got out there to about Post and between Snyder and Post, coming back home, and the bugs are just like thumping on the windshield. Right, we're just like covering the windshield with all the bugs we were hitting out there in the middle of the country. And I told Leslie, I was like, I wonder what it was like back in the day trying to sleep in this. Like when it didn't even like 74 degrees all night long. It's hot and all those bugs are everywhere. Like what the life was hard back in the day, right? But cool your body down, right? That's what he was about. He was about if you're going to eat something, eat some fiber and complex carbs. Eating close doesn't harm your sleep. Eating 3 hours before makes it better. Now that's what he said. He said, look, I'm not saying that eating 3 hours before you go to sleep is not, or stopping eating 3 hours before you go to sleep is not better than eating something before you go to sleep. He's just saying that eating something doesn't harm your sleep. That's his opinion. You can make your sleep better if you don't eat 3 hours before you go to bed, but you're not going to hurt your sleep. It's kind of, that was cool. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed his time. I thought he was great. It was good stuff. So that's all my notes that I got on him right now. I've been thinking about it all day long. Like I really need to jump back in here and just break these chapters down again and really get a better plan that might help us all sleep. So stay tuned. That probably is coming in our direction right there. So let's move along. We'll just introduce. We got about 6 minutes left tonight. Let's introduce Heidi Haavik to you, and then we'll probably spend tomorrow night. We might spend the next several nights talking about her work. So um, Heidi is she's a really interesting lady, and I don't have her all of her all of her history, but she got her chiropractic degree. She got her PhD in something else. She's super smart. She's done all kinds of research. Um, she's a public speaker. She's just she's just a super smart lady that's done a lot of work. She is the founder of the Haavik Research, which is a team of chiropractors, scientists, and digital strategists dedicated to helping people express their optimal potential. She has a passionate. I'm passionate about finding and translating into easy to understand language the science of how chiropractic improves people's health and well-being. And and she's on fire kind of lady, but she did um, she really does a good job of making things very, very simple. So some of these talks you can go to, like she was, I don't even know if you click on that, the Parker College talk. No, that was just the lead into it. But um, she's done a lot of research. So let's just talk about. We got 5 minutes. Let's just talk about some of the research that she's done and just start it a little bit, right? So here's one of them that, and I just made some notes here um, that. So I don't know if you can see that or you can't see that, but we'll talk about it for a second. Contemporary, yeah. The contemporary model of vertebral column joint dysfunction and impact of high velocity, low amplitude controlled vertebral thrust on neuromuscular function. I know that's complicated. So just saying this, that the way we've been describing it, and it's so funny amongst chiropractors, and I know that I'm not going to have enough time to get through all this, but chiropractors will argue. They did it in chiropractic school when I was in chiropractic school. I'm pretty sure they did it since 1895, and they do it today. I talked to Chaley about it when I was there. You guys fuss about this? And she's like, yes. And it's like, because, and you may see people online talk about this sort of thing. The subluxation to me is so simple, and that it holds up and it makes sense. It's interference in the nervous system. A subluxation means interference in the nervous system, and a subluxation is caused by physical, chemical, and mental emotional stress. It's that simple. You have interference between your brain and your body. Okay? And so what she's trying to do is find this out. And the purpose says this: there's growing evidence that vertebral column function. There's growing evidence that vertebral column function and dysfunction play a vital role in neuromuscular control. This review summarizes about how vertebral column dysfunction, known as central segmental motor control problem. Now they're getting into some technical things right there, right? But the vertebral column dysfunction alters neuromuscular function and how spinal adjustments, especially with high velocity, low amplitude, like we've talked about, and spinal manipulation, whatever that is, alters neuromuscular function. So if your spine is dysfunctional, it alters the neuromuscular function. And okay, so neuromuscular function, think about what that is. Neuro, brain, muscle function. It in your spine. If your spine has dysfunctional segments, if the joints in your spine are not moving properly, or they're degenerative, or they're whatever the thing is, if they're dysfunctional in any form or fashion, then there's actual randomly controlled clinical trials that will prove that there is a decrease in the brain to muscle component of your body. What is the brain or muscle component of your body? Well, it's the way you walk, and it's the way that you lift, and it's the way that you run, and it's the way that you move. It's the way that you get in and out of bed. It's in and out of a chair. All those things, right? It's the way that you hold your posture up. There's a connection between the brain and the muscles, and dysfunctional spinal segments cause disruption there. And when you adjust them with a high velocity, low amplitude force, and you quick stretch the muscle and around the spine, the spindle cells inside those muscles, the neurology inside those muscles feed into the brain and reset that motor pathway. It's very interesting. And then we're going to, I mean, I know that was like, whoa, what did you just say? But that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Got 20 seconds right now. And that before we're out of this show. But we're going to start right here tomorrow, and we're going to really talk about that so that you get a really good grasp. And we're going to talk about it in several different articles about concentration, about cognition, what's going on in your brain, and how your body is functioning. So, thank you guys for watching the show. Please let me know if I can help you. If you send me a message, 806-794-0400. And otherwise, you guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.